Now, before we jump into this, I do want to make one thing clear with the NieR Automata anime, because I feel like some people will immediately want to say, you're hyping this up because you're a game player, and you know what, should we even try this because it seems like maybe it'll just be for game players. I've never played the game more than like a dozen minutes or so. I just got distracted, and then at that point, you just have to restart. And so for me personally, I know nothing. I want to play the game, just there's so much to play and you get distracted. All this excitement and hype is based solely on what I saw with this first episode, and I didn't talk with anyone who's played the game. I didn't really know anything other than what the promotional trailers laid out. So this is all raw anime reaction only, and I loved what I saw. Is this going to be anime of the season? Obviously, it's too early to tell. But there are those first episodes that can get your mind racing and say the potential's there if they stick the landing the entire way through. And yes, production issues could underdeliver some episodes, maybe some episodes won't hit as hard as this. But for a world that's all about mystery and not knowing the answers until you finally get to the end, this show hook, line, and sinkered me. The action was phenomenal. The music was exceptional. The intrigue of are they humans, are they robots was absolutely brilliant. And by the end of the episode, the emotional punch that they decided to go with, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but just in case anyone needed a sales pitch, hopefully this is doing it justice, it was brilliant. And I have to say, this is without a doubt, I think, my new favorite first episode of the season. I mean, it really, really delivered for me, and I am dying to see more. Now, before we jump further into the video, do gotta make a mention, I do have a full live reaction available on the Patreon. If you're more interested in that, consider supporting if you want to see it. But let's talk about this. And first things first, I do want to get some negative baggage out of the way, because I feel like anytime you have a lot of 3D in an anime, especially if some of that 3D visually may not be as appealing as others, a lot of times people discredit any praise to a show saying like, well, you're not acknowledging the elephant in the room. So let's acknowledge said elephant. The first handful of minutes it's all 3D, and basically you're flying around, Autobots transform, and there's so much happening. And visually, there isn't a lot of textures to some of what we're seeing. And you can really pick apart and say, visually, was that the most pleasing 3D, especially if you pause at any given moment? And no. But what I want to say to that is, while yes, there is room for improvement in terms of just visual eye candy, you can't deny that that shit was smooth, it was fast-paced, and it felt like you were a camera. Think of Mario 64 and how when you first start that game, you see our little boy with the camera behind Mario, and that's your camera in the game. That's what it felt like following 2B in her crazy pursuit. We were going through tunnels, we were dodging obstacles, explosions galore. And while yes, I think it's completely fair and justified to say, visually did some of these shots look all that great? No. But did it do its job at selling us like we were in the driver's seat alongside this character? Oh, absolutely. When it gets to be an issue, is there's two things that can really cause you to just feel like it's taking you out of the moment. It can be lackluster visuals and a choppy camera. So something where you're like, okay, it's a very sluggish 3D character. It's not fast. You're just like, okay, it doesn't look great. It's slowing. Why are we looking at this? So while you might be able to make the argument that some of the 3D on a visual standpoint doesn't look the best, it's always fast, it's always smoothly animated, and I do think, especially when we get into that blend of 2D meets 3D, especially with like the next 3D objects, which are like these giant beasts with like buzzsaw arms and we're exploding things left and right, that shit looked amazing. But the general like mechs that they were almost flying around in, those weren't the best detail, but were they well animated? I would say yes. So for me, that's just what I want to say on the matter, because I know it's going to be probably a hot topic among anime fans, so I wanted to throw my hat in the ring, get it out in the air, because now I'm just going to gush about this show for the remainder of this video. So this show is without a doubt a style of story where you're not going to get answers right away. You might not understand completely what's going on until the very end, and maybe we'll have to rewatch the anime multiple times to understand. But if the end of the episode is anything to go off of, we are going to see multiple endings, because the original game, this is some of the only stuff I know about it, there's multiple endings to the NieR game, and everyone says you should play them all to get the full context. What this anime's doing, as seen by the puppet show, they have a puppet show at the end, and I thought it was brilliant, because not only do they tell you what this anime is going to be about, it also gives you some anime-only knowledge. So, like, if you've never played the game, they start explaining the different bots and how everything works, and like combat drones and everything, and I'm like, okay, this wasn't needed, but it was definitely a nice extra layer, because anime fans aren't going to know these details unless you tell the anime fans, right? And the fact that they're explaining these things in such a humorous but creative way, I thought was brilliant. But this is clearly a story where there's going to be some heartbreak, there's going to be some painful death moments, but there's an interesting world where they're clearly not human, but they seem kind of human, and as the episode's building up and they do a suicide bomb, where they call it the black box, which I was like, oh shit, that's gonna be a big blast, isn't it? And they destroy everything that's approaching them, and they wake up in a ship. But I was like, okay, are they gonna go the direction of they don't remember anything? And clearly, this main character that we're following, 2B, who is the game's protagonist, seemed to remember everything. Unfortunately for her, her partner here didn't have time to back up his own memories. So he basically, it's like the most heartbreaking breakup because they clearly had a good connection, but he's like, hey, apparently we solved the mission and I probably saved your memories, but I don't remember a damn thing. And I'm like, okay, this show is going to go into some places. But what was the story of the episode, right? We start with a girl flying around doing some crazy maneuvers and then goes through a base to destroy it, ends up killing herself and her partner in order to stop the destruction, wakes up in the ship and only one of them can remember. There's clearly some sort of war or some sort of battle going on, but we don't know the answers just yet, and we don't see a lot of these types of anime, but when they're there, they're generally pretty fun to follow. If you're the type of person who needs answers just like that, maybe this anime won't be for you, but if you're someone who's like, hey, if you can keep me interested with some fun action, some great characters, and an intriguing world and environment as you build up to give me those answers, even if the story doesn't seem complex just yet, the breadcrumbs are there, the trail is there, and we're building into it. But some people, they do want an immediate hook, where it's like, oh, something's destroying the walls, or someone killed someone so we're trying to kill them back. Like a very easy to read hook. This episode and this show is not going about that. They're doing this slow burn reveal, and the world is fascinating. It's beautiful to look at. They don't need to go as hard into the background details as they do, but shots that are there for less than a second have all this detail of rust and the way the light comes in. It is such a great production that, yes, you might be able to critique some of the 3D, but the fact that they're clearly pouring their heart and soul into this production, while I have heard rumblings that there might be some production issues down the line, right now, I'm going to judge what I see right now, and it is a very, very good first episode that has my excitement so damn much. There's so many great shows this season that at this point, I have a hard time ever picking a singular show to be my anime a season. It's like usually 3 or 4 shows that I can argue are. And I think if this show continues on what I just saw here, with some amazing action, dynamic camera work with the 3D, and just an intriguing plot that is so mysterious and we know very little, but I'm already more intrigued than some shows that will, I'll be 3 or 4 episodes in and I'm not even this excited yet. So the fact of the matter is, this show, if it continues on the trend I'm seeing, it could be one of my anime of the season. At this point, I can't even pick one anymore unless it's like that good of a show. But for me personally, people are free to disagree. I really liked it. Maybe game players will hate this, maybe anime fans will hate this, and I'll be the odd one out. It happened, but this is how I feel, and I gotta be real with you, I love this one. But I'm gonna pass the torch over to everyone. Whether you loved it, you hate it, you're in the middle, what did you think of NieR Automata, etc., in its name? What did you think, and are you gonna continue watching it like myself? Do let me know down below, leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're new around here. Now, like I mentioned, full live reaction is available on the Patreon. You can also get video shoutouts and other fun exclusive perks over there, so do consider if you so wish. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.